Well, hi guys, welcome, and who dat? I'm Joe. Thanks for tuning in to Rosenfield 10, where I cover our beloved, bless you boys, in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. If you're a Who Dat fan, subscribe to my channel. I love the Saints. You like talking about the Saints? I like talking about the Saints. You come to one of my videos, I let you know what I'm thinking. You let me know what you're thinking in the comments below. And today we're going to do a week 6 preview that's going to have the New England Patriots coming into town into the Caesars Superdome to face our beloved New Orleans Saints. Well, the New England Patriots, to my surprise, and to perhaps the surprise of all of you Saints fans, the Patriots are 3-2, and they've got two big wins in their division right now. You know, at the beginning of the season, looking at the schedule, I thought, okay, the Saints versus the Patriots. This might be one we can get. The Patriots aren't very good. They're learning how to win. We're not very good. I don't know if we're learning how to win. We won one last week. The Saints are 1-4. New England's 3-2. They lost their opener to the Raiders. The next week, they won a shootout against Miami, their division rival. That's when the talk about Miami not being very good was getting hot and heavy. The third game, they lost a close one to Pittsburgh. And at that point, they're 1-2, and you're thinking, well, maybe the Patriots are who we thought they were. Not very good. They managed to beat Miami. But then in week 4, they completely blow out the Panthers. And they had already gotten their first win. We just got our first win, but they had already gotten their first win. Then they blew out an opponent to get to 2-2. And then last week, they go on the road and beat the best team in their division, in the Buffalo Bills, something that we struggled to do just a week earlier. So the Patriots are at a pretty good spot at 3-2, as far as I can tell, regardless of what I think about their roster or anything like that. It is what it is. I see a young team. They get their first win, just like the Saints did last week. Then they get a blowout win against a lesser opponent in the Carolina Panthers. So maybe we are a lesser opponent to the Patriots. Maybe they can roll in here and think this is going to be an easy one, and maybe it should be an easy one for them. And then again, maybe this is a team in the same tier as the Saints, where we're trying to find a way to win. Well, they've already got 3 wins, including beating Buffalo, which we couldn't do, on the road. So now the Patriots are on the road. They're coming to see us. Are we as good as the Patriots? You know, on paper, as far as performance goes. Let's look at the Saints offense and defense. We're going to talk about the injury report, and we're going to see what kind of team the Saints have going up against this red hot Patriots squad. So the offense first. And to my chagrin, the injury report for Thursday has not been released yet. I keep double checking it, and I'm checking it now, and it's still not up, and it's 3:40 in the afternoon. So usually it comes out by now. So I'll just go off of what happened Wednesday. There was only one did not participate on Wednesday. So it's looking good as far as players that are probably going to be out. And that did not participate was on the defense and Isaac Yiadom. So let's talk about the offense. First, we're going to look at Juwan Johnson at tight end. He's got an ankle injury. He was limited all last week, and then, his performance was this past week. Looked like he was kind of hobbled out there. He just didn't get the targets. He only got 2 catches on 4 targets. It feels like Juwan Johnson's going to be a big part of this offense when everything's clicking. That's a two catches is a poor performance by Johnson when compared to what he's done earlier in the season. He was targeted a lot, and this offense is evolving. But he is limited, and just like last week, I'm going to assume he'll be limited all week, and they're going to make a go at it. I think personally, since Foster Morrow's back and since Taysom Hill is back, you don't need to lean so heavily into Johnson. And if this ankle injury is going to cause him to be limited practice, then perhaps he should be limited in the game as well. He's a big receiver, so we kind of need that. Alvin Kamara has an ankle injury. He was limited on Wednesday. Not too worried about that. Trevor Penning, the same ankle. He's played 2 games in a row now, so the limited practice both weeks, but managed to play and last the whole game. Penning didn't look too bad this past week. Hopefully he'll be bumped to full participation at the end of the week, and Penning will play, and that'll be fine. This offensive line is, the real mash unit of the bunch. Trevor Penning limited, but like I said, he's played 2 weeks in a row now. Dylan Redunz, who has missed the last 2 weeks and did not practice in the last 2 weeks, was actually a full participant in practice on Wednesday. So Dylan Redunz seems recovered from his toe injury. Now that's good news, perhaps, because on the depth chart, Dylan Redunz is ahead of Torricelli Simpkins. And Simpkins struggled big time this past week. Simpkins struggled a little the game before, too. It's good to see the young, undrafted Simpkins go out there and perform. He's got a lot of fight, and he just needs to continue to improve. There's no better way to improve than game time situations. But if Dylan Redunz is a full participant, which he was Wednesday, and he's ready to go, you're probably going to see Dylan Redunz start at right guard. That's if Cesar Ruiz is still out. Cesar Ruiz was a limited participant in practice with his ankle injury on Wednesday. Limited. So I think with Cesar Ruiz, what they're going to do is they're going to keep him limited all week, see how the ankle responds, and it may be a game time decision. And I think this coaching staff would rather have Ruiz out there than either Dylan Redunz or Torricelli Simpkins. Now that's their call, not ours. We all would probably prefer to just suffer with the bumps and bruises with Simpkins as long as we're grooming a young player who has potential. But, he gave up 6 pressures this past week, Simpkins did. I heard one report say 10. I heard one report say 6. Regardless, Simpkins had a 0 rating on pass protection from PFF. And he did struggle. He got beat constantly. Cesar Ruiz gets beat a lot too. But I'm of the belief that Cesar Ruiz wouldn't get beat as much as Simpkins. So there's the line there. You want to continue with a guy in Cesar Ruiz who probably reached his ceiling, or do you want to continue to improve a young guy? Regardless, if he can't play, if the ankle is still hobbling him and he can't play this week, then you've got Dylan Redunz as an option. So, as far as everything else on offense, Taysom Hill's back. I've got him listed as a quarterback. He got 9 snaps last week. So, and yeah, he lined up, I think, as a tight end once. He was a protector on the punt unit as well. And then at tight end, Foster Morrow, I think he got 20 something reps in his first game back, and that may increase with Johnson hobbling around with the ankle. But the major thing to talk about here is that wide receiver Trey Palmer has been placed on IR. And that's something that I didn't hear anybody specify in those press conferences, but it's on the New Orleans Saints website. We made a bunch of roster moves, so we had to get rid of some people. And yeah, Trey Palmer's on IR. And the people on the list, that IR list, were people that are expected to be out for the year. So instead of having six wide receivers, we're going in with five. We did sign a wide receiver to the practice squad, and we've got practice squad bodies that we can pull up. But and also we're really healthy at wide receiver. Everybody else is full health, including Vele, who I expect to get way more playing time. We need to see what a big body can do, especially with Johnson hobbling around at tight end. Taysom Hill's not a big dude, so your big body guys are Johnson and Vele. So I want a lot. I want to see a lot more from Vele this week. That would make me feel better. All right, that is the offense. Not bad. The offensive line gets another player back in Dylan Reduns, and Cesar Ruiz is on a limited basis. And you never know. This weekend we may go in with the full complement of offensive linemen we expected to be our starters. And yeah, Cesar Ruiz is obviously the weak link. And Trevor Penning, is growing into this left guard role while being hobbled with a ankle injury as well. So, but yeah, we may be there. We may have the full complement of guys. And Trey Palmer hasn't played all year at wide receiver, so I feel like we're good at wide receiver. And if Johnson's hobbling around, at least we have Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill back in the rotation with Jack Stoll. So the quarterback play, Spencer Rattler, he's doing fine. There's no rush to go to Shuck, but we're going to have to see Shuck eventually, especially if we keep losing. We keep losing, it guarantees a high draft pick. And if we get a high draft pick, quarterback has to be a consideration. And you really have to know what you have with Shuck before you make that kind of decision with a top five pick. So, all right, let's go to the defense and talk about the issues with injuries there. And lo and behold, Chase Young is back at practice. Unbelievable. But he was limited. So, the calf injury. I guess we're going to be limited in day to day. I really wanted that Thursday injury report so I can see if he was bumped up to full or if he was still limited or if they may have downgraded him. Oh, the Thursday just came out. So, how about this? Davin Gottschall didn't participate because of a rest day. He gets every Thursday off. Isaac Yadam still did not participate. Trevor Penning was elevated to a full participant on offense. Good stuff. All right. On defense, yeah, that did not participate was Isaac Yadam. 2 days in a row. Right now we have seven bodies at cornerback. Amadi's a cornerback slash safety, so he's kind of a flex there. But that's still a lot of true cornerbacks. Six and seven bodies are there. Isaac Yacht, the reason why is because we signed Mike Davis to the active roster. He's a veteran. He's been in the league since 2017. He was picked up as an undrafted guy by the Chargers and was still around when Staley showed up to be their coach. And Staley seemed to like him a lot. He got to start a lot of games for the Chargers when Staley was the coach. And Kellen Moore was there. The third year Staley was there, so Kellen Moore knows the player too, even though, Davis is on defense. And then last year, Davis spent it with the Washington Commanders. And of course, the Commanders traded for Lattimore because they wanted cornerback depth. They had just drafted cornerback. I think they went at cornerback in the draft again. So, yeah, the Commanders are trying to get their cornerback room situated. And Davis, there wasn't a place for this guy. But, he's what, 8-year veteran guy. He's got a lot of starts, a lot of stats. The guy's been a veteran and has been productive. He's not coming in here to start. He's coming in to take Isaac Yadam's place. And the reason why I'm talking about Davis so much is because Yadam not participating because of the hamstring makes me think he's a possible IR candidate. You put Trey Palmer on IR, Isaac Yadam, Well, we'll see. But perhaps Isaac Yadam gets a couple more weeks. He comes back from his hamstring, and then we just go ahead and release Davis. There were a couple other teams interested in signing Davis when we signed him. I don't know how they figured that out. I guess, when the agents talk, there's, hey, you better get it to this price or whatever. But if we release Davis, he might get picked up by somebody else. I think the Rams might have been interested in him or somebody. Detroit was interested in him. So, okay, so let's focus on our edge rusher. Limited participation on Thursday for Chase Young. He's still there, and if he's limited, I guess that means the ankle's not giving out on him completely. We've seen him downgraded. I don't want to see a downgrade. So Chase Young limited in practice again today. So that's good news. And Justin Reed, who was in concussion protocol and was limited on Wednesday, is now listed as a full participant in practice for Thursday. So Justin Reed passes the concussion protocol, I'm assuming, to be a full participant. Perhaps he has to have one full participation and then has to get checked again, and then after that. So we'll know for sure on Friday about Justin Reed. A lot of people are pretty happy about Howden and his performance when Reed was out. And Reed hasn't made any plays. He has not made any big plays since signing that 30 something $1 million contract and being our starting safety. Howden made a couple of plays last week. Scoop and score. Perhaps Justin Reed could have done the same against the Giants. I don't know, but I'm going to pump the brakes a little on Howden. We've got a lot of money invested in Reed. I need to see some plays from Reed. I mean, he's been playing all year, so Howden gets a brief moment and he shines. I'm going to expect Reed to do something here. And the only other thing to mention about our defense as far as the health is John Ridgeway, who is in that IR situation where he's practice window is open. He practiced last week on a limited basis, then a full basis, and this week Ridgeway is once again a full participant. So he must be fully recovered from his shoulder injury. All right, that's the defense. Wow, we got the injury report while I was recording. So good news. That means, Chase Young responds well. We get to finally see Chase Young out there playing football in this defense. And he was supposed to be the biggest playmaker on the team. We haven't had a ton of sacks, but we are definitely not at the bottom of the barrel in sacks in the league. So I think you need the pressure and the sacks in order to force some turnovers. Our defense as a whole is responding well right now. We have a +5 in the turnover differential rate right now, and that's because our offense really hasn't been turning the ball over at all. One interception, and I believe only one lost fumble, maybe two. So, yeah, it all looks great when you're +5 in the turnover ratio, but we know this team hasn't been forcing a lot of turnovers. We got a bunch of them in this past game, and it helps when your offense doesn't turn anything over. So, what I'm saying is you need the pressure from the defensive line. You need to force the quarterback into some bad throws, and then our defense has to take advantage of that. We took advantage of a lot of plays. We created opportunities and took advantage of them on defense. And it would be nice if the defense would do that and then our offense would respond and take advantage of it and finish as well. So as long as our offense is struggling to put up points, we only scored 7 offensive points in 5 forced turnovers and only 7, you know, a touchdown. One touchdown. That's what I mean to say. One touchdown from the offense. So we you get 5 turnovers, you can't be kicking field goals, missing field goals, and only managing to score one touchdown. The whole team knows this. The quarterback and the coach both acknowledge this. When they get in the red zone, they're not producing. And it seemed like Kellen Moore was blaming himself. saying he needs to be better at designing plays. And we've talked about this in past videos. When you're in the red zone, you should do red zone things like run the ball. Taysom Hill running the ball wouldn't be a bad idea. Kendre Miller and his ability to break tackles wouldn't be a bad idea to run in the red zone. Having big wide receivers out there like Devon Vele and Jawan Johnson, so you can run the ball. You go two tight end set with Jawan and Foster Moreau and maybe Jack Stoll. The big touchdown pass to Rashid Shaheed was in a three tight end set when Jawan, Foster, and Stoll were all out on the field. There was only two routes. We have all these 4 or 5 route concept plays all the time trying to hit deep passes, and it finally works when we go big and fake them with a run. So yeah, put the bigs in there. Devon Vele, Juwan Johnson, those guys can make contested catches in the red zone. Yeah, last was it last year when we had Jimmy Graham and we refused to play him every time we did in the red zone. He caught a touchdown, but we refused to put him in there all the time in the red zone. It was like hitting your head against the wall. It's not that hard to figure out. And I don't want to hear about, oh, when it's 3rd and 10 from the 10, that's a really hard play to make. I don't want to hear about that. He knows, the coach knows he needs to do better. We need to do better. We're performing, as a team. We're learning as a team. The team's roster keeps changing, and Helen Moore's not quite sure what's working and what isn't yet. Maybe we're setting some stuff up for some big stuff later. You got to get some wins. So let's talk about the game. The New England Patriots might be red hot right now after blowing out the Panthers and getting a divisional win on the road against a really good Buffalo team. That could set them up for a letdown in this game. I don't know if the Patriots are going to be a team that does that. It seems like this team in New England's responding pretty well to everything. They get their first win, then they blow out a team they should beat, and then they get a road win against the best team in the conference. So, yeah, it seems like everything's working for them. It seems like they're not going to lose the game. We're going to have to find a way to win the game. And if we're only scoring one touchdown when the defense plays as well as our defense played last week, then it's going to be hard for us to keep winning games. Now, when I pick a winner and a loser, I always pick a scenario where the Saints win, and then I pick a scenario where the opponent wins. And that's what I'm going to do here. My gut instinct tells me it's going to be a letdown game for the Patriots. The Saints were a couple of bounces of the ball away from beating all the teams they've played besides Seattle. And even though Buffalo gets away with a 12-point win, it was pretty close there too. So I'm going to say that as far as both these teams go, they're not far off talent wise. The big difference is the Patriots have a franchise quarterback, and and we're trying to find a way to win more games with Spencer Rattler. Maybe we can win some because of him. Maybe they can get this red zone stuff figured out. Maybe we were so close last week and we finally do get over the hump. So that would mean scoring more than 19 points. This team seems to love to score 13 points, 16 points, 19 points. We need to get over 20 points. I can't expect our defense to hold every team to 14 points. Can't expect our defense to do that. 20 points is what our defense can give up on a really good day. We need to figure out a way to score more than 20 points. And if the Saints can do that, then maybe we can go toe to toe with a red hot team like the Patriots. I'm going to say the game is close, 24-24, and we win it on a Blake Groupie field goal. I'll say a 53-yarder. And Groupie will be 2 for 2 on his field goals. He'll get the game winner. It's going to ease our minds a little bit about special teams. And the Saints win. Final score 27-24. Now, that could be what happens, and it would be nice. And I know people want to get rid of Groupie. And, I keep thinking about how inconsistent kickers are. in general. I hear Saints fans calling for who? A guy that Atlanta cut, and a guy that I never thought was very good, even though he had his moments against the Saints. I never thought when Koo lined up it was a Kimmy. And Koo missed a bunch of kicks. That's why he got cut. And these kickers are moody. So I'm thinking that our coaching staff is looking at Blake Grupe and seeing how he made all those kicks in the offseason. Watched him kick over and over and over again. He was probably, what, 40 or 41? And then he gets into the real games and he's missed five. Well, you put it all into perspective, counting the other 41 kicks, and then, yeah, he's only missed like six kicks out of 60. So that doesn't seem that bad. But the reality is only the games count. And right now he's made 10 and he's missed five. That's not good. But perhaps what I'm saying is the coaching staff thinks this is a slump and he's going to get red hot again. I think they're going to give him a couple more games. And if he misses a game winner, or if he misses a kick which allows the other team to win, then that's going to cost his job. Or, and it has to be objective, can't be subjective. He missed some kicks against Seattle, so what? we got our butts kicked. But yeah, something objective like that, or, he just keeps missing. He just keeps missing. And they've got Charlie Smith waiting in the wings, who missed a ton of kicks in the offseason. So Blake Grupe would probably have to miss a handful of kicks more before they go to Charlie Smith. Because at that point, you're like, well, let's go ahead and bring in the leg if we're going to keep missing, one out of every five kicks, or one out of every three kicks, four kicks, whatever. He's missing one out of every five right now. So it's not good. So, all right, I've talked bad about Groupie enough. It would be a redemption moment for him to get a game winner here. And redemption for the special teams as a whole. I didn't talk about the fact that we released Fellis Jones Jr. from the running back room when I showed the offense. And it's because he was failing at the special teams, the only thing they were asking him to do. I don't know who's going to be returning kicks next to Kendre Miller, but we have to see a big improvement from our special teams, not just Blake Grupe. The punter's got to be more consistent, and our coverage and our returns have to be way more consistent. Phil Galliano is in the hot seat for sure right now. If New England wins, it'll probably be, we will probably be bad, like we have been at times this year, in order for New England to come here and win. I think if New England plays a bad game and we play an okay game, I think there's a great chance. If New England comes there and plays a really good game and we just play a blah game, they're going to win. There's a chance we suck it up like we did against Seattle, but I don't know. I see some energy. I see some motivation with this team, despite the record. I feel like they feel like they've got the whole season ahead of them. The truth of the matter is you could finish 13-4. I mean, mathematically, not in probabilities. If the Patriots win, they'll probably score 27 points, is what I'm thinking. Same as the Saints. Only the Saints would be struggling on offense. I'm going to go with final score if New England wins. New England 27, the Saints 13, with a couple of missed field goals in there and some 0-3 red zone production, non-production. But that's the way the Saints lose this game. If they commit 8 penalties, if they turn the ball over at inopportune times, and the offense can't get it going. So there you go. That's my predictions for the week. Subscribe to Rosenfield 10. I will be doing a review and reaction of this game next week. I'll also be releasing another video later on today. And it's all about the Saints. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?